welcome to We're Live. Good evening, and welcome to another episode of V Bailey's Ask a Black Woman. We have Ep.5, and we're super excited about it. It's on accountability. So, welcome, and thank you so much for tuning in and joining us another Sunday. And I wanted to go ahead and introduce our lovely guests that we have. We have three beautiful, confident, hardworking women who practice accountability daily. And so I wanted to have these beautiful queens on and talk to everyone about this word that is a little bit not the most pleasant word or the word that people like the most, but it is becoming very popular lately. We've been hearing a lot of conversations about accountability. And so I thought it was an important conversation to have with everyone. I mean, women have been getting a bad rep about accountability, but I believe that it's very important on both sides. We have to be accountable so that we can really be our best versions of ourselves. And so I want to first start off by introducing Miss Sonia, Pastor Sonia Adams. And Miss Sonia, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. And it's so good, like I said earlier, seeing everybody live and in person. So I'm here in the ATL in Atlanta. Okay. I'm actually a Georgia peach, so I'm from Georgia, which is rare these days.
Real native.
Yeah, real native, yeah. And so I've been in ministry for over 30 years. And I'm married. I just celebrated 25 years of marriage, which I'm so excited about.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what we want.
yes. And so I have a women's ministry, a nonprofit called the Blossom Network. And I just launched in 2020 my I Am Pretty community. And they really just collaborate together. I'm all things women. And it's so amazing because the Blossom Network is comprised of mostly mature women. Or I call us mature. We're not old. We're mature. And the new community is millennials and younger women. But it's really been a great support and network because I think we can glean from each other as mature women. We can learn from the young women, and definitely the younger women can learn from us as well. And so I do that, and we do all kind of classes, events, support, and we're talking about accountability today. So that's an area of accountability because we are our sisters' keepers, and it's very important. And so I do a lot of things. I'm an author coach. I've written 6 books. I Am Pretty is my latest. That's how the community evolved, and just love serving and giving, and just helping empower women to be their best selves as God has helped me become my best self. Then I'll pour back and share, some of the things that I've done to become my best self. So that's what it's all about. So, and I'm so happy to be here and be a part of this conversation.
Yes. Well, we're happy to have you. And next we have Miss Cherie. And so if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, world. Thank you so much, Fergie, for having me. Love accountability and to coach it and to talk about it and to bring out the importance. So I'm actually an actress. I've been in arts and entertainment for about 15 years now. I'm the host of a talk show called Say Something with Cherie. We're actually going through a rebranding, moving it over to the podcast world. So everybody's excited and asking about it. So we're going to bring Say Something with Cherie back. I've been on several television shows. I've done a lot of reenactment because I'm an advocate for domestic violence as well. So I've been hired by TV One, the ID channel, to do a lot of reenactments as well. I've been seen on Tyler Perry earlier in my days. It was a good start. And then just shot an independent movie that we had a premiere out in LA that's going to come out in 2022. So my life is entertainment. Recently married, been married almost 4 months.
I see you on the TikToks. We see you on the TikToks.
Yeah. Listen, we love TikTok, and that's just a way to digress, but it's turned to something else. But TikTok is everything. So that too, we have a whole plethora of videos coming out. Everybody's been like, versus TikTok, but we really wanted to take a moment to enjoy each other because my world is, social media and it's new to him. And I wanted to really enjoy my husband and my marriage for a few months before, we had to expose ourselves and everybody have access. So that's my world right now in a nutshell. But how I became accountability coach and pursue this is because people would always reach out to me and ask, how do you do X, Y, and Z? You're a single mom, you're doing this, do that. And it really comes down to accountability. At the end of the day, everything circles back around to accountability. So I found myself doing all of these calls and mentorships and getting people's business up and running. And I decided, you know what, let me just zone in on accountability because it was what I had to teach myself. It was a hard lesson, but when it comes down to it, you're great with accountability. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. We're so happy to have you. And last but not least, we have Dr. Sade Brown. So let's hear a little bit more about you.
So, you guys, I am from North Carolina, but I reside in Atlanta, Georgia with Miss Sonia Adams.
Oh, you're all there.
I'm here too.
This is perfect.
Oh, we got to get together.
Okay. This is amazing. Great panel.
Yes.
I am a wife, I'm a mom, and I have a lot of residual and passive income. So basically, I own and operate CEO, CFO of Feminine Finance. So if you see me on Instagram, it's called Fem Finances, but it's really Feminine Finances meets Paid and Pretty and Paid, whichever way you like it. So basically what I do is my husband and I we're in e-commerce where we have stores on Amazon as well as Walmart. I have our own ground store here, supply and demand. It was a warehouse, but we kind of turned the front and we're still kind of like turning it. But that's basically where we shop at it. So we have our own ground store as well. What I love to do, one, is trade. So I am a day trader. Recently, I've been swing trading. So when I'm swing trading, right, I am basically purchasing homes, flipping them, talking to my contractors about how I'm going to flip the place, talking to my real estate agent about what house I want, what deals I'm going to make. So again, I'm in real estate, e-commerce, stocks, as well as Airbnb. So I also do short-term rentals. So not only if I'm taking these properties in certain places and I'm getting deals on them, I'm actually flipping it or taking that money because I really do not believe in selling anything. Maybe I'm a hoarder of houses. So what I believe in is basically taking the houses, making them look really, really extravagant, and then basically taking the equity out on the house to go purchase more. So that's how I actually don't have to ask. But yeah, so that's how I basically get my houses. So I basically increase the equity on them when I fix them and then go purchase more. And that's basically what I'll be teaching people in my courses that's coming in November about how to use these different streams of income and diversify your profile or your portfolio so that you have money in all of these sectors, right? Another thing I'm leaving out is I'm also an adjunct professor at Morehouse. As well as South College. I teach physical chemistry. And I teach.
Better go.
I do a lot, and so accountability has to come into play somewhere.
Right.
Without me dropping the ball on my family life and interpersonal life as well as my career. And I'm also a project scientist at a really, really well-known company. I do not like to give the name because I deal with people globally. So I'm also a project manager there. So yeah.
Wow. Yes.
I have a lot going on.
You better go,
oh my goodness. I'm learning something. I'm like, okay, I'm about to take one of those classes, because you said a lot of, a lot of different ways, to have those multiple streams of income that I think a lot of us are like curious about, but kind of like scared. You get all these different messages online. You're like, I don't know you. So, it sounds like a great idea, but I don't trust you, so you want to find someone that you can trust so that you can learn that. And, we can all, achieve greatness. There's enough, the pie is big enough. So, but with all of you ladies, your lives, the reason I felt like you were the best, women for the job is because your lives all really require it because it's busy. You're, really just doing your thing in so many different areas. And you can't do that, and be successful at it without accountability. So, so I'm like, okay, these are all like super women, super moms, super, everything. I'm like, come on, ladies, you can do it.
That's
You
right.
can do it.
Okay.
So, but we want to talk about accountability in we all know about virtual first dates, and that's kind of how this all started. The Ask a Black Man, the Raw Talks, and Ask a Black Woman, is so that we can work on being better individuals, so that we can be better in our relationships and create better families, stronger bonds, and move away from this gap, and this disconnect that we have between us, and you ladies are lucky, enough to be married, but we're all still growing, right? So we can grow from you, young, women and young men can grow from seeing you guys, speak, to how these different topics affect our relationships. And so there's all these different misconceptions, about accountability. And so I wanted to start the show off by talking about, when you hear the word accountability, what is your first thought? And so who would like to take that first?
Well, I'll jump right in.
Start us out.
Only because when you said that, there's always a misconception. Even I think about counseling. So I have some positive words, and when you give more of a positive affirmation to words, I think about encouragement. Accountability can be encouragement. It can be support. It's help. So when you think about it from that vantage point, it may not have that negative connotation. But it also is constructive critique as well, because we need the help, we need the support, but we need construction as well to help us grow. So those are some of the words that come to mind when I think about accountability.
Okay. And yeah, good shot, eh?
I'm sorry. So when I think about accountability, it's sort of on the lines of Miss Sonia. I think of self-awareness. That's what I think of. Like, how aware of you are you of yourself, right? I think of truth. I think of honesty, right? Holding yourself accountable in those things and aligning yourself. Like, so that's basically what I think of. Just self-awareness is accountability. Like, when you hold yourself accountable, you then can hold everyone else accountable for the things that you do and the things you see others do. So that's what I think of when I think of the word accountability.
Okay.
Well, listen, y'all. For me, I mean, I know I'm the accountability coach now. Okay. When I think of accountability, I'm going to do the negative and I'll do positive since I've learned. When I think of accountability, I think, what did I do? What I didn't do? I'm in trouble. They about to be trying to like control me. Like, I just think like, is the first word that I think. Like, like, okay, wait a minute, right? Because I'm smarter now. When I think also, I think on the positive note, I think cheerleader, right? I think somebody that's going to hold me accountable and also like be on the sidelines, like, you did it, right? And then I think elevation. So cheerleader says, I'm going to be better. I'm going to actually hold myself accountable. This person is going to watch me. I'm going to be better. But at first, no, I'm sorry. I'm like, okay, dang.
You're keeping it 100.
Yeah, listen, we have to keep it real. That's the only way. That's a big part of accountability, is that, speak about that transparency and being transparent with yourself. So that's important. For me, when I hear the word accountability, I think about ownership, and then I think about the work, because it's like a constant work in progress. You don't just work at it to be accountable and then you're like, oh, it'll never be hard again. I'll never not be accountable again. Like it's constant work in progress, And so that's what I think of. But I thought it was very interesting because I was talking to a good male friend of mine when I was just going over everything and, coming up with questions, and then, receiving questions from, just the community. And he said, It's just so funny how men and women think different. But he said that when he hears the word accountability, the first thing he thinks of is consequences. That if he's not accountable, what's going to happen? And it's so interesting because our roles, men and women's role is so different. So with women, I think we have a little bit more flexibility because they're not always, taught that to be, I guess, accountable in the way that they see it, right? And so for a man, it's always, okay, what do I got to do? What needs to be taken care of? What bills need, like, I got to make sure this stuff is done so I'm not dropping the ball, because that kind of defines me. And so it's just like, wow, it's kind of interesting, the different pressure, that is on us, and how we need to be aware of it. I was like, okay, that's something to think about. So, but yeah, so as we talk about that, there in the misconceptions about accountability and the misunderstandings that we have all the time, there are different types of accountability. And so I wanted to talk about those different types of accountability. I was kind of breaking them down as how it's applied, and not really that they're different, types. Like, oh, okay, accountability in your personal life, accountability with your work life, things like that. But from what I read, there's internal accountability and external accountability. And so for you all, I know that you got the expert here, and all of you, I think you're experts in your own way. So I wanted to talk about that, the different types of accountability. So Sheree, if you could touch on that for us.
Amongst the two type or kinds that we have, internal, external, the internal clearly deals with yourself, being accountable to yourself. And a lot of people don't want to do that, right? Everybody needs accountability, but not everybody appreciates it, right? So you got to be accountable to ourselves. It's hard to do that. And then the external is being accountable to others, because we have our family, our friends, our children, our work, our dreams, our goals. We have those things we have to be accountable to, but we have to put the internal there first, because really the external kind of like fans us. It kind of like gives you that, yeah, you can do it, girl. It feeds the internal. So the internal is always there, but you got to have something to feed it. It has to be intentional. You have to want to do it, because we can get caught up in pleasing or being accountable to everybody else, because we're always worried about how people look at us or how they perceive us. So I could be accountable to you. I can make sure I reply back to that email, or I text you, or I like your stuff and comment. I can look good on the outside, but the inside, I'm falling apart, right? I don't have anybody even interested in me. I'm already not interested in me, Now I have anybody else interested in me to hold me accountable, to say, like, girl, you said you were going to do X, Y, and Z, and you haven't done it. And I'm talking self-care, it can just, everybody is not trying to be a superstar or trying to be the millionaire, the next millionaire. Some people are doing very good with their six-figure 9-to-5 or whatever. But I met a woman who wanted to really get involved, already doing great, lucrative businesses. And she wanted to get involved in domestic violence. She just wants to give back. And she wanted me to help her find the time to really just give back. It's not even about money. It's about the personal, intuition inside of her to say, I want to help other people. And so that's a personal goal. That's accountability that she needs. So the self-care, the giving back, the community, our spouses, spiritual, our prayer life, our tithing, all of those things are kind of mixed between the both internal and external accountability.
Nice. Yeah, totally. But the way I was breaking it down before is, okay, well, there's spiritual accountability. There's, personal accountability about taking care of yourself. You mentioned self-care and self-love, So I'm like, okay, there's that accountability. And then there's accountability of spiritual accountability. I'm just breaking it all into all these different sections. And I'm like, but I guess there's something that sums it up. And that's it, is that personal, that internal accountability. I think that one is the one. I would say they're both important. I don't know if they're equally important, but I will say that's the one that gets neglected, I believe, the most, because, just like you said, we're worried about everything outside of ourselves, and like, oh, let me tell you what you need to do. And it's just like, you need to go put your hand on your nose somewhere and work on you. You know, so
right.
it's so important to talk about that. And so, what I was thinking, is, breaking it down in all these different ways. But Dr. Sade, what would you say that the financial accountability, that's kind of, you can break that down as internal and external, correct?
Yeah, depending on if you're traditional wife, you don't have to worry about finances too much. But financial accountability is very important, especially, and I think it needs to start with what I've been preaching lately. It needs to start at an early age. Actually, I think you need to teach financial accountability to your children so they can understand how to properly manage money, right? And that helps to corresponds. I personally think financial stability as well as financial accountability corresponds with time management and time accountability, right? And
Yes.
I just think it's important that it starts with our children first, and then you will actually see as you grow how it can affect the time that you have, the time that you spend on projects and whatnot, because time costs you money. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
For me, I can't speak for anybody else.
Yeah.
Dr. Sade Brown, time is money. So the
It
more you
costs
spend
us.
on a project, the more
Yes.
it costs you. So the more time you're spending on something, the more time you're going to waste money, and then that goes into financial accountability. So you have to be good with your time to be good with your finances as well. But you also have to understand how to properly manage that, manage your finances as well as your time. So I realize when I teach some of my clients, time actually costs us a lot of money. And that's
Yeah.
because one, we try to do something over and over again because we're not well versed or educated in that particular thing. So you have to hold yourself accountable when it comes to learning and making sure you understand everything about your finances, when it comes to taxes, when it comes to interest rates, when it comes to loans, when it comes to contracts for houses. You must read the information yourself and do your own due diligence when it comes to your financial security, your financial, just creating a spreadsheet of how your money, a budget, how your money goes in and how it goes out, how you need to increase, thinking long term, right? I think sometimes we
Right.
always are thinking in the short term period, but we're not thinking about what if this happens? What if this happens? I don't know. Maybe it's the mom thing, because I'm always like, my child goes in the kitchen and I see my husband leave something down. I'm like, oh no, put that up high. He's going to get that, right? Or
Right.
this could potentially turn into a hospital visit or an urgent care visit. No, we're not going there. So I guess
Right.
I don't know if it's just me, but I just think ahead. Like, okay, what do I need to do? How do I need to? Because I know I'm accountable when it comes to this thing. But what do I
Right.
need to do to basically have some preventative measure in place so this does not happen? And I don't know where that comes from, but that's what I teach people. Like, what's your preventative measures? Like, you got to know it. And then
Yeah.
you got to have a corrective action if it does happen. So yeah,
Yes.
that's all I have for financial accountability.
That's good.
Yeah. No, one of the young ladies said that financial accountability is been an issue, in the Black community. And I would say that just from, the conversation I've had and, different experiences, and just, hearing those conversations, like, oh, I never knew, anything about money. Like, my parents never taught me anything about money, or, the people I was around, they weren't good with money. And so, a lot of times these younger people are learning on their own, or because of the experience that they had growing up. Maybe they were poor or something, like, I don't ever want to be poor again. So they're like, how can I figure it out? And, they're getting in these classes, they're learning how to invest, they're learning all these things so they don't have to be in that position again. And then their children don't. And so, but it would be, nice if we, as the adults, when we have children, to be able to teach them these things, because you just never know. You never know how long you're going to be here. And, I had a friend, his parents invested, they flipped houses, they, were killing it. And then they left everything to him. They didn't know that they were going to pass, and they passed within 3 months of each other. And so, obviously that's traumatic. You're losing both of your parents in such a, short time. And then, so you're going through that, and then you got to take care of the business, and then you don't know how, and so, he ended up eventually like, losing most of it. He held on to a couple properties, but he was kind of upset because he was just like, they never taught me it. They're saying they're building this to leave behind, but if you don't know how to take care of it, then you're going to lose it. And that happens a lot in our community. And then you get to take your personal accountability and say, well, parents are teaching you this for a reason. You're not a child. You need to take some of these courses or ask more questions so that you can be accountable and not lose the family business. So
but in that scenario that you provided, he could have actually just hired a financial advisor if he didn't.
See? It's just
know that much.
It's small. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then sometimes you're kind of like, well, I don't know, am I making, how to pick one, just like we were saying earlier, you just, our people, sometimes we have a lot of trust issues. And so, but I think as we have that accountability and work on, healing, we can make better decisions so that we can be, more accountable. And so, Pastor Sonia, different types of accountability, maybe with spiritual, your spiritual relationship with God, because how in the beginning of the year, people are like, oh, I'm gonna, work on my relationship with God, and, and I'm gonna get fit, and I'm gonna do all these things, and they don't do nothing. You're like, ooh, it's October. I ain't done none of that. So I know what you coaching and just being that, spiritual leader, and to a lot of, young ladies, a spiritual mom, in what ways are different types of accountability, have you seen, like, what could you say about those different types of accountability and how to apply that?
Well, there's so much I could say, but I would also, I'm a teacher too. So I'm an adjunct also. And I also taught middle school and high school. So when you were talking about external and internal, I already had a chart in my mind. I had external over here, internal over here. I was listening all the time. So you actually you can do categories. You just got to categorize them and put them into different areas. And so I think with spiritual accountability, I would put it in the column of internal and external to some degree. And I think when you think about spiritual accountability, it is connecting with people who can help you grow spiritually. And a lot of times we want to do that by ourselves. We want to be isolated. We have to do things on our own. Don't get me wrong. But we have to, when we have accountability, they can help us maneuver and go through the process of being whole, being complete, knowing our self-worth, our value, knowing our purpose. And you got to show up. So it's a lot of people who say they want this. I want to be healed. I want to be whole. But then when it's time, they don't show up. And show up and show up in the spaces that, and God always provides doors for us and opportunities. It's so funny because even with my book, and I'm not trying to promote my book, but with my book, or any other book, any other book that you have, if you are reading that book for internal growth and development, you got to read it. And you got to look at the principles. So the reason I say it's funny because when I sell books or ask people, and you all probably get this too, have you read the book? So many times people say, oh, I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm going to get to it. So showing up means you have to do the work. You have to be willing to be accountable to yourself. And so that's why I have accountability with friends as well. And my coach. I have a coach to ask me, okay, the goals that we've set, the things that I'm trying to reach, have we made those goals? Have we reached those goals? Or where are you? And even having a therapist, sometimes we talk about therapy, but spiritual therapy is good as well. But I just think, being accountable first and foremost, and Dr. Sade, you said this, is true. You've got to know where you are, know where you need to be, but be willing to be truthful with yourself of where you are and doing the work of what it takes to get to where you want to be or desire to be. So, and having that spiritual support. And I talked about constructive critique because not, as a pastor and a leader, everybody likes I call it the meat, but when it comes to the vegetables, we don't want to always eat our vegetables. And so there are times when you want to be truthful with others as a minister and say, maybe you don't need to do this, or maybe, you might not need to be in that relationship right now. Let's work on you. And then we can get, into a relationship or things of that nature. And just being honest with where you are, truthful, and going to God and doing the work, reading and studying, spending that quiet time in prayer and reflecting of where you are and where you want to be, and then doing the work to get there. So that's the part of accountability in a spiritual sense as well. And I preach that and teach that so often because that was the pivotal moment in my life when things changed, when I finally became accountable to my spiritual walk and started doing the work.
So true. It's so true. And once you do it, it's just like, okay, that wasn't horrible.
Right.
And then you feel better. You're like, oh, you know how you have a list of what you want to complete, whatever you want to achieve for the day, and you actually get through that list, you're just like, I'm so proud of myself. I'm tired, but it's a good tired because I completed everything. Like I didn't procrastinate. I didn't make up excuses of why I didn't get it done and, all these things. But I also didn't set unrealistic expectations, for myself. So I'm not mad, at the end of the day when I don't complete it. Because it's like, well, girl, you couldn't do all that, even if you were the best time management.
And I think that's why prayer is so important, because when you pray and you get insight into what you need to be doing, then you end up doing what is necessary as opposed to what you think you need to be doing. Because I'm a pastor, so I'm gonna throw some scriptures out there. But it talks about many of the plans are in a man's heart, but it's the plans of God that prevail. So a lot of times we put a lot of things on our plate, and God didn't tell us to put that on our plate. But if we would listen and say, okay, God, what am I supposed to be doing in this season?
Yes.
In this season. So you may be supposed to be doing A, B, C, D at some point, but is this the season that God wants you to do it? So that's why you have to really have a spiritual life here and say, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing this season, and navigate through that. So it's you're right. You're right. We do a lot, but we should consider what is on our plate that we really should be doing in every season in our life.
Oh my goodness. So true. So true.
We were just talking about purpose, and being accountable and finding your purpose. And one of the things one of the young ladies said, they asked her about purpose, and she said, I think that your purpose changes. My purpose when I was 16 was this way. When I was 20 was this way. And, you talked about seasons, and I had to respond. I was like, no, because God don't make no mistakes. When he made you with purpose, purpose, right? So he didn't make a mistake and say, no, I don't want you to, that ain't your purpose now. You passed. I think that it's a season. Your purpose needs to evolve every season, and it just takes different paths. But your purpose,
that's
your
good.
Purpose.
Yeah.
So,
yes, that definitely resonated with me because, I just actually heard that from a pastor that I didn't even know was a pastor. It was a Brother Leon. He had a podcast and invited me on to interview me in the discussion to kind of confirm, everything the day before. I find out he was a pastor. I was like, oh, I said, okay, well, right. You can be my little personal pastor real quick. I can ask you some questions. But in that he was asking me some questions, and then he, kind of just, he's poured into me. And then he also had said, with you being a creative, he's like, I see it all on you. Got a lot of things that you're meant to do. He said, but you need to manage, your resources. And it was so crazy because I met a guy 4 years ago, and it was like I met him one time, not even in person, but spoke with him, and from that conversation, he just read me, and he had that word, for me. And he was just like, he was like, you're a healer. He's like, and you need to make sure that you manage your resources. And I'm like, okay, this is the second time I'm hearing this, because when you're a creative type and you're the fixer type and nurturing, you want to, love on everyone, fix everyone's problems. You want to create this, you want to create that. And he said, that's fine, but there's a time for it. Take it one at a time, and understand when you're managing these resources, you don't just give all the resources to one person. You're going to spread it out, and you gotta, spread it out accordingly, like who needs it, maybe the person who needs it the most, or evenly distribute it. But you have to be mindful of that. And I really didn't know that, I guess. I was just like, no, I got to overflow of love. I can just here, and then I was exhausted.
Yes.
The time I didn't think
referrals. You got to refer sometimes too.
Exactly. And I didn't think it would ever come. And I'm just like, no. And then when it came and I was exhausted and there was nothing pouring in, I said, oh, yeah, I'm almost on empty. I need to, I might need to listen, And so when I heard that again, I said, okay. And he listened to that, and then he gave me another confirmation, and I said, okay. So that was the third time I got that confirmation. So I said, okay, that means God is saying now, this is what you need to be doing right now. So, it's just, it's interesting, but once you get on that road, it'll just change your life, and so that leads me to relationships, which this is all about. We're trying to improve our relationships and become better mothers, better sisters, better, friends, better partners. And this relationship, thing that we got going on, we need some help. I'm hearing a lot of complaints on Clubhouse and social media and real life. I'm like, what is going on? Why is everybody having such a terrible time dating, and people date in their marriage too, and so we got to figure it out, right? So we can do better. So how are relationships affected by accountability or the lack thereof?
And I think the main relationship that's affected is friendships, right? I think we don't even consider that. There should be accountability in our friendships, girlfriend, homeboy. There should be, and that really comes down to boundaries. We gotta set some boundaries. I gotta teach you how to treat me, because obviously you don't get it. We got people that's just takers, then we got those people that are over pleaser, people pleasing. I'm gonna do it just because the title is my friend or the history. No, we gotta set some boundaries, and that's an internal accountability to yourself. Set some boundaries. So that your friends will respect you, appreciate you, and then in return we do the same thing. But that's the number one area that is neglected accountability is friendship. Just because friends, I do this to you, or we'll just fall out because friendship loyalty doesn't even whatever, and then our marriage is the same thing. Accountability, one thing, the lack of will fuel that ego inside of us. To where we're always right, we do no wrong. It's my way or the highway. We got this thing right here, and guys do it too. But more. It's like that ego will come out, and nobody's gonna tell me what to do. And it's like, whoa, you gotta check that. But with the accountability in that marriage. There comes healthy conversations. You learn how to apologize. Me being a single mom, moved to Atlanta when my daughter was 3, had never been here before, was running from an abusive relationship, running from my life. I got married to my high school sweetheart 4 months ago, who's always been my best friend for years. So I would tell him everything, but I still had this S on my chest. I'm the president of a huge nonprofit, domestic violence, and I'm working legislation. And I put myself through school. I'm making money. Like I'm doing all this, and I'm telling my daughter what to do because she looks to me, right? So when my husband came, it's like, I do this. But I was steady saying that I want a man that I could go home and take the S off my chest, right? Tell me to be submissive and not be argumentative, but I had to hold myself accountable to say this man is here. And so I actually learned.
That's what you asked for. Mm-hmm.
The man, listen, the guy gave it to me. Be the first to apologize. Learn how to communicate with your words and, you know, and check yourself. So now every night before I go to bed, I check myself like, what could I have done different today that could have changed an outcome of something? Because we, you know, honest, every bad situation, we could have said something or did something just a little bit different and it wouldn't have been as bad. So I check myself, hold myself accountable to that, because relationships mean a lot to you, both friendships and, you know, our spouse as well, and our children as well. You know, I was raised in a household where parents say go, you shut up, you don't have to say so, but I didn't want to raise my daughter like that. You know, you smack with the sheep or something, but I make sure my daughter is very vocal and that I'm open and we have conversations and what I say, and then I repeat, like, you know, how do you feel about that? You know, and it kind of hurts sometimes when she's like, well, Mom, I think you're wrong. I'm like, hey. But being accountable in areas, it just kind of takes that ego away, and I promise you, it leads to some of the best relationships ever.
Yeah, that's very true, and it's interesting that you said that too with you know, motherhood, because I've just heard different stories of what people experience, you know, with their parents, and they're like, well, you know, some of that stuff I could never tell that to my mom, you know, like I might die, you know, and it's just like, you know, yes, we love, you know, our moms, you know, and, you know, our parents, but we love our moms. But when I heard someone say that, you know, the other day, they were like, you can't say that to a woman. It's like, you can't say that to, you know, a mother. And I was just like, is it, you know, are we so used to not having to be, you know, accountable in so many areas that we prevent ourselves from learning, you know, or being better, you know, that where people fear telling us about, you know, something like, you know, you did good here, but in this area, kind of, you was tripping a little bit, you know, and you got to be able to receive that, you know, and you can grow tremendously, because I've done that one time, but you have to get to that point that you're not so sensitive about it. One time I was just like, you know what, I'm going to ask some people who are close to me, you know, what are the things that they, you know, feel are my best, you know, assets, or, you know, the best characters or best quality, you know, and then the least, you know, likable qualities. And I had to be ready for that, because someone could, you know, people who know you for a long time, they might tell you some stuff and you'd be like, okay, so now I see you just being petty. You got opportunity, you being petty, you know. But I have to be like, we're gonna be quiet and we're gonna just go ahead and hear what they have to say, you know. So I asked for this, I want to work on it, and so I did. And when you do, it's just like, oh, okay. And some people are surprised. They're like, you sure? You know, you're like, yes, I would like to know so I can work on it. and then once you start doing that, you know, to me, I like it because it kind of keeps me, you know, like I can think about it. At the moment, I might be a little like, I don't know. But then I'll sit and think about it. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that better, you know, so I'm going to do that better.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of times we don't want to have the hard conversations. And I think in relationships, that's so important, whatever relationship it is, even with your friendships, you know, your family. And so even right now, this week, I've got to have a hard conversation. And in this hard conversation, we're going to have to talk about, well, what are your expectations of me? It's someone that I'm doing some work for. And the communication has broken down. So I'm the type of person, and I don't want to say I like having the hard conversations, but I embrace it. Because I know in order to move forward in your relationships, conflict is inevitable, and you got to deal with it. If you skate around it and you don't deal with it, then the relationship can't get better, because you're holding in stuff and you don't know what the expectations are. And so you have perceptions and you have all these ideas. But if you talk about it, like you were saying, and be ready, you know, and I'm going in honestly, what are some areas I can improve in? Because obviously we're not on the same page. And so it's been lingering for a while, but I decided after today that I'm going to call for a meeting, because we got to have the conversation. And it's a relationship, you know, it's a employee for a relationship, and we have to talk about it in order for it to get better. So having those
Mm-hmm.
hard conversations is about accountability, and it's about improving relationships. And sometimes the relationships improve, and sometimes you figure out that, well, this relationship is not going to work.
Right.
And
It's
but if
what
you
it's
don't have the
for.
conversation and you just walk away
Mm-hmm.
without even trying, then you haven't tried to put in anything in the relationship. And even with marriage, sometimes that happens. Sometimes divorce is necessary, but sometimes it can be prevented if they
Mm.
really did the work, had the conversations, and really both were vulnerable and open to listening on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Because you
Mm-hmm.
got, like you were saying, everybody's like, it's you, but it's both parties involved, and we have to be honest with ourselves. So yeah.
Right. No, totally. And Black Marble mentioned that, you have to be able to be accountable. I mean, practice accountability, because if you can't, then you can't be accountable. And then you're always in victim mode, because you have to think about that. If I'm not being accountable, what am I doing? While I'm voicing what the issue is, I'm like, wow, you do this and you do that and da da da. What you do? And I hear that so many times when I'm just listening, hearing other people, like my friend, how you go over someone's house and they're so comfortable arguing in front of you. You're like, okay, and then you're like on the outside looking, and you're like, okay, I hear where this person's getting ready to miss that, and the other one's getting ready to miss that, because they're not taking any ownership, and being accountable. Like, how am I contributing, to
Mhm.
this disagreement or this place? How did we get here? Did I help? Did I drive us here or
Right.
not? You know what I mean? And if you did it, there's other areas where, when we talk about external, accountability, where could I have helped? Because when you're in partnership and you're married, even if you're courting, that's what you're working towards. You get to care, for your partner as well. If there's an area and you see that they're kind of struggling, but what is best, or that you can help them, offer that to them. Don't let them just struggle and you be like, let me wait till they mess up so I can tell them about what they did wrong. And so those type of things we have to, just be mindful of. I think that really, plays a big factor, or impact our relationships, of why they don't end up working. And Dr. Sade, what do you want to say about that? How accountability, or the lack thereof, affects relationships?
Well, in my marriage, we do this thing called, well, I created this thing with me and my husband when we got married, because I'm the type of person, maybe it's my Sagittarius behavior, but I love to be accountable for whatever I'm doing. So ever since I was little, I remember asking my friends, my mom, what can I do better? Like my teacher, what can I
Mm-hmm.
do to be a better student, right? What can I do to
Mm-hmm.
make A, or what can I do to improve in this subject, right? And even now
Mm-hmm.
in my marriage, like I ask my husband, what can I do to be a better wife, right? And what does that look
Okay.
like for you?
Mm-hmm.
And having those conversations actually helps your relationship with your significant other
Mm-hmm.
progress. Why? Because just like Miss Turner was saying, your purpose changes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if your purpose changes, then you change it. So when you
Mm-hmm.
change,
Right.
your
Check
relationship will
in.
ultimately change, right? So
Right.
now you're changing, or the people around you may be changing, and you don't understand why. And now
Mm-hmm.
everything is out of alignment. So this is why it's important to have those conversations, like, hey, what's going on, what can I do to be a better friend, what do you need from me, what does those conversations look like? Because I
Yeah.
will tell my friends, they all can, I have given them the green light to all hold me accountable for what I say,
Mm-hmm.
how I say it, what I'm doing. Pull me to the side, let me know, because sometimes we can be so into ourselves that we kind of
Mm.
forget everything else, and we may slip up a little bit, but just let me
Right.
know, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay with you letting me know, so I won't do it again, and it won't be
Right.
a ongoing a situation every time. And now you got this person who's not telling you because you didn't allow them
Yeah.
to
Mm-hmm.
basically hold you accountable, right? So we haven't
Right.
even talked about allowing people to hold us accountable. So the
Yes.
reason why you have people in this generation, or right now, who are afraid to basically give you the real, who are afraid to hold you accountable because they're giving you toxic positivity. So toxic positivity means
Toxic
I'm
positivity.
upholding you in your wrongdoing. And I'm not
Yeah.
allowing, I'm
Oh,
not
wow.
holding you accountable for what you're doing. However, I'm basically uplifting you in you doing wrong. And this is not good for you at all. So I always tell my friends when we're talking, like, hey, you know what? Don't give me no toxic positivity. Give it to me
That's good.
straight. Give it to me direct.
You helping us.
I know, that's a new. I like that. I mean,
I
it's
love
Right.
it.
Give it
I
to me
love
direct.
that.
If my hair don't look good, let me know. If I slipped up on this whole thing, let me know. Should I been smiling more? Give it to me because I cannot be better. I can't be the better version of myself if you allow me to sit in my mess. I
Yes.
can't elevate myself if you allow me to sit in my mess.
That's so good.
So that's why the internal
in
and
the
the
word.
external matters, because maybe you feel like you're doing an amazing job, right? But then somebody who loves you can actually give you the true and honest vision or version of yourself. Like, hey, you know what? This is how it's looking right now. And if you're having all your friends hold you accountable and most of them say the same thing, then you know something needs to change.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
I wanted to just say that, Dr. Shorter, that's so good with the toxic positivity. I've never heard that term, so you helping us. But
I think I created
sometimes,
it. I don't know.
oh, you created it? Okay, then we're going to give you credit for it when we use
Yes.
it again.
I
We're
don't
gonna give you credit.
We got to just post it, you know, on Instagram and put it in there.
Right.
Dr.
But sometimes
Sade.
what I was going to say, sometimes I think, and I don't want to label, but I'll just say some of the younger women that I work with, they like toxic positivity because they don't want to be offended. So that's what they're used to. And sometimes it's hard for them to receive truth. And especially you talked about the dating game, you know, and I mentioned an example earlier, you know, I have a daughter that's in a relationship. She just got a relationship, just jumped into another one. And I'm like, baby, let's slow down.
Right.
But she does, you know, I can't really, she can't get it until she goes through some things because she's not listening right now. So I think what you're saying, you also have to be in a position to receive. Yeah.
Right. Just allowing people in, you know, to do that because, you know, at the end of the day, then you'll complain about, well, no one was there for me and no one told me that this is not. It's like, well, maybe they look, you know, at yourself and say, well, are you the type of person that is approachable? You know, are you the type of person that will hear, you know, them? Or are you like I said about me, sometimes for me, you know, it'll take a minute, you know, but I'm always thinking about it. If someone says something to me, especially if it's my family or my mom, I'll be like, I don't feel like talking to you right now. And I get off the phone and then I'd be thinking about it. And I'm like, she was right. Okay. You know, but you gotta be open to that, you know, so that those people, you know, we talk about therapy and therapy is important, but sometimes the people around us are our therapists, you know. Sometimes God sends different people in your life because something about them you feel comfortable with, right? You trust them, you feel safe with them. And so when they tell you something, you're just like, oh, you're not ready to chop their head off because you're like, this person, something about them makes me feel comfortable and safe. And I'm going to listen to what they have to say because they've always, you know, been, you know, kept me, you know, my best interest at heart. And so you have to allow yourself to get more open, you know, to that so that you can actually take some correction, you know, because it's needed. Like we're not done until the day we check out of here. So it's like, I don't know what you're doing, sitting over there thinking you're so great. It's like we still working, honey. Like we still working. So, but yes, I love that.
And what you just said was so important. Just simple. What until we check out, not only that, but how our offspring is actually receiving how we actually have our relationships. That's very important. So even when we check out, we're leaving our legacy behind. It shows up.
Good.
True.
So,
yeah, that's good.
That's true. It's so good because that's what we do. We're like, well, when you have those heart-to-heart conversations with your parents, you're like, well, I don't know. Like, you know, I just did it this way because that's how I always seen it done, you know, and when someone told me about it, you know, maybe you can't receive because, you know, like that's the way you grew up, and once you join, with another person, it's just like, well, we got how you was raised and then how I was raised and how we think, the perfect, what the relationship's supposed to look like. And so we got to figure out, how can we be accountable and own, our stuff, and then come together and create something beautiful, something better than whatever it is that we seen, and be realistic. Like, okay, let's create this, and can we recreate this? And I think that you can create anything you want. You just got to be on the same page. You can't do that if you're busy lying to yourself about who you are and what you're doing, right. Pumping your own self up. Like,
that's why that intention consciousness, because if we don't have the intention or the consciousness, we won't even recognize that we're, failing ourselves. We're not allowing people to pour into us and talk back to us. That's why that internal accountability has to start. Something has to make us stop and say, wait a minute, why am I losing all of my friends? Why don't I have a relationship with my children? Why is this going wrong? And we have to stop. Something has to tell us, okay, let me look at me. But if that intention is up here and that ego is up warring, then it's kind of like you're going to miss it. Hopefully it's not too late, but it goes right back to that internal intention. It's got to be there.
Yeah.
Now, this was not really a question on there, but I feel like it's necessary to touch on, because we're going to go into why we should be accountable. And I think that's kind of short and sweet, but what is it that is preventing us? And like just hearing all this and thinking about, just different moments of not being accountable. What is it about? Is it a fear? Because I always think I'm thinking about it like that person can't bend you over and whoop you. You're grown, or they can't take all your, your resources away from you. So like, what is causing you to just deny, something is going on? If you mess up, like what is preventing you from saying, yeah, I messed that up, like, let me correct it. Like, what is it? Is it fear that if you own it, then it's out there and now you're exposed and this person's going to leave you and no one's going to want to deal with you anymore? Like, what is it? Like, what is it that you guys think? Just, I guess just briefly, what you think, what prevents us from being accountable, just in whatever area?
I think sometimes people take stuff personal and they we attach what we do to our identity.
That's a good one.
And so you feel like if someone is telling you something constructive, that they're personally attacking you. And that's why even my husband and I, we try to say, we're talking about the behavior or the action. I'm not talking about you personally, but this right here makes me feel when you do this. And so if we wouldn't take things so personal and be offended so easily, then I think that would help us to receive better. And that's just one, I know, and the other ladies may have some others.
Yes. Okay. Dr. Sade.
I agree with Black Marble and even you, V, because I think it's just fear of being held accountable, fear of being wrong, fear of being judged, fear of being, I guess, like, how would you say it? Fear of being like out, basically outed. Like, okay, now I'm not going to have any friends.
Exposed,
being exposed, like people see me for who they think I am, or when that really isn't you. We're telling you to basically improve yourself, right? Because this is what it's be. But I'm a solution oriented person. So when Sonia was talking, I was like, okay, if you do that, the way I look at it is when I know people, if you come at them and they know you're about to hold them accountable for something, what I do is I try to say something positive first, like, hey, I love you, or hey, you're an awesome person, but maybe you need to work. And I try to say in the nicest way possible, because I know some people will shut down as soon as you hit them with the negative. It's kind of like, oh no, now I feel attacked, and I don't want to go there, right? They don't even receive it at that point because they should. So yeah.
Right. So we want to take the Mary Poppins approach, a spoonful of sugar, mix the medicine. So we're just like, what? You did this so great, but it seemed like this area you were kind of like, you weren't in the best mood. What is this about?
Trying to get them to say it.
Right. And focus on that. on the behavior, well, like I said, we have a counseling, we have counseling sessions, and we actually ask the couples not to say you. Because sometimes when you say you, all they hear is me. So we ask them to talk about when this happens, this makes me feel, and I know, that's a hypothetical. And so when you really start practicing, you're not as deliberate with it, or you're not thinking about it. It's just you're more gracious, like Dr. Sade is saying. You're thinking about not pointing the finger as much, and you may not literally always not say you, but you have a better attitude of sharing the information.
Yes. So good. Y'all giving me church today. Extra church. The other word that you need to hear, right? Sheree, so did you get to speak on that? No, you didn't get to speak on that.
No,
about
but,
why
you all were hitting on the nail on the head, especially Dr. Brown. It really is about delivery. I tell people all the time, it's not it's how you say it. And so my own marriage, it's a delivery. I had to learn accountability because I was the one that they used to call me Nene Leaks Jr. My grandmother used to call me Nene. And Nene, but I didn't know how to pretty this thing up. I just need to tell you how I felt, what you did. I needed you to understand black and white. But
she said, I said what I said.
I feel right? And I don't really care how you feel. People wasn't receiving that. And these are people that I love. So it really does go back to your delivery, but it is the fear of judgment, and it is the fear of perception. Perception is everything. We want people to perceive us to be a good person. Right. And even though you may say, you did this, right, but I didn't quite like how you said that. All we hear as people is that all we heard was but. It's like, but. Yeah. And so after the sugar honey iced tea, we just gave it to you real nice. They walk away still feeling or people like, dang, they don't like me. They don't approve of me. It really got to come down to yourself. Accept your own self.
Yes, that's it.
Your good, your bad. So when someone else brings it to your attention or exposes it, I always tell people all the time, you might talk about me and tell what you want to tell, but can't nobody tell it like I tell it. So let me tell you what really happened. Y'all ever had fun, I was on welfare, had food. Let me tell you, because I've accepted all of me. Yeah. So now when you go to speak of it or you bring it back to me, I'm mature enough to say, you know what, you're right. And so
right, it doesn't hurt. Yeah, it doesn't hurt so much. But, I was also thinking about the fact that when it's so hard, when there's a perception of you, I think this is too a part attached to the fear. When there's a perception of you to get that off of you, right? So once someone puts something on you and says, okay, you're this or you did that, I think a part of that fear where you're like, no, I don't accept that. Like church, I don't receive that, I don't receive it. You can keep that. I rebuke that, and because when you do, I guess maybe that fear, you have that fear that if I receive that, then that's, how you see me. And once you see me like this, I can never change that. So you're like, if I don't own it in the first place, it's not something that I got to work on to get you to see me different. I can just act like it didn't happen and then do better. But the thing is that if you don't, receive it, then you won't do better. You're not going to be like, let me just get better in secret. No one's got to know, that I was raggedy for 5 years straight, type of thing.
Like your circle is important. The people you have around you is so important. You have to be able to tell you like it is, even if it hurts. Like your circle is so important.
Right, because you're like, okay, I got this person in my life, this, man in my life that's going to get me together. I got this, sister over here that's going to get me together. And you trust them. That's very important. Because it's all attached, so you got to choose wisely and vet wisely, not be scared and jaded that you're like, no, I don't trust the soul. Get away from me. I like being by myself. It's like, it's not true. You just got to vet and put the proper people in your life and, ask God because he'll do it, because he quickly will tell you if I'm asking the question, God, is this the man for me? You're like, nope. You'd be like, gave me a little grace period, like a little while. So, but well, that brings us to our last question, and that is, why should we be accountable? So we can, kind of just go round table. Pastor Adams, why should we be accountable?
Because community is important, and we need each other. And we, another scripture here, I'll paraphrase, but we hear it all: iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
And you can't get better because people that God puts around you can see in you sometimes better than what you can see in yourself.
Yes.
And so we need accountability to grow and to be our best selves. As I've been coining that phrase since we've been on the broadcast, but it's important. And God said it. He said, man don't need to be alone. And you really, people say they are saved, they got the church and all that, but when you get into community, it lets you know how saved you really are.
How saved you really are.
Yeah. If you're on an island by yourself, you just worshiping God, and you think you're the best thing since sliced bread. But when you get with some people, that's when you begin to see where you really are. Mm-hmm. And we need each other in order to grow. Community is so important. And I just think we need to get back to community even the more. So it helps us grow as a person.
Mm-hmm. Accountability is not about right or wrong. It's about being free. Come on now. It's about being free. Free yourself. Exactly.
Yes.
It's very true. Because like I said, once you get over that hump, you're like, oh, okay, I feel good, because I actually respect, what I, was doing. I'm proud of myself. And you're really not proud of yourself, when you're messing up, because you're messing up, but you just like, don't tell me I'm messing up. I don't want to hear it. Don't say it so loud, but you feel good when you're like, yeah, I was proactive. I got it done, and I, stuck to my word, because that's very important, very important. Yeah. So, Dr. Sade, what would you say about that? Why is it important to be accountable? Why should you be accountable?
You should be accountable because you don't want to have unrealistic goals. That's one. Okay, so you don't want to have unrealistic goals. You do not want to basically set yourself up for failure, because that's what will happen. You will set yourself and your family. I feel like people can bounce back from that. Your family can bounce back from, can bounce back from you not having you not being accountable when it comes to you, your family, whatnot. But it's important because you need to have a strategy for yourself, right? And without accountability, you're kind of just walking out here freely with nothing. Look, and nobody's holding you accountable. So you just do as you come, and that's ill prepared one. And then you have poor habits. Poor habits are generated from people not being held accountable or holding themselves accountable. You basically perceive everything that you do is right, and nobody can tell you any other way. So it basically shows up in your health. It shows up in your career. It shows up in your relationships that you have with people. And when you realize that you are the common denominator in all of this, then you will start wanting to take accountability, because nothing for you will work out. Maybe, you may get a little something may work out, but it won't be much. And if that does work out, it'll end up failing. Why? Because you're not holding yourself accountable and those around you. So if you can't take constructive criticism as you move up the ladder, you will end up falling, because there's people who's trying to help you get up that ladder, but you're not willing to listen to them. So, and that's in a marriage, that's in any type of relationship you make whole, whether it's work, anything. So my thing is to always allow somebody that you trust. Not everybody should hold you accountable, but somebody that you trust to hold you accountable, because they have your best interest at heart. So those are my words.
That's good. That's good. And Ms. Sheree.
I say that accountability is the main ingredient to success. right? And that means, well, whatever success looks like to you, it can be healing, because everything has a root. We may be a procrastinator because whatever happened as a child, you know, it could be sexual assault, it could be any type of abuse. And whatever success looks like to you, that's the main ingredient. You got to hold yourself accountable so that the healing can begin. So you can look at yourself, and so that most importantly, you can gain self-control. Without that accountability, then you lack it. You'll continue to run rapid. So it's not a matter of someone beating you over the head. You know, don't look at it negative. Don't look at it like somebody's going to be tracking you or exposing you or judging you. At the end of the day, it's about you getting what you need to survive, to be successful. If your success is healing, if it's financially, if it's personal self-care, if it's mending relationships, whatever success is for you, accountability is your main ingredient.
Yeah. Oh, so true. Oh, I feel so good, y'all. I'm like, I really do this for me. Get all the free coaches and all these.
You enormously help us as well. We be getting a word too now.
Yeah, I'm taking notes. I have a whole notes.
We got hashtag toxic positivity.
It's so good. And then it just worked out that all you guys are in the same place. When I was looking at that, I said, oh, this is great. They could probably do some events or do some things together. They're all in the same city.
Yes.
I already got on Dr. Brown's page and saw it. I was like, oh, because I knew the Airbnb, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should take her class. You know, I'm always trying to look. You know, it's a lot of fluff out here. You know, I'm the queen of saying, like, I'm not doing no all female nothing, because I believe the king always in the building. They should always be up front leading. So I don't do all female stuff, but I look at supporting, and I was looking like people, you know, you buy these webinars and things, child, and you walk away empty. And so, you know, I was just looking.
You might need to, huh?
Right, you know? I was just looking, and I think I can, you know, grab some of your services and support and actually learn. There's some few things in there, the e-commerce things that I'm into, and so yeah, I kind of jumped in. I didn't get to stalk that Pastor Adams yet, but I'll come up there and stalk you since we're.
Awesome. Well, this is a perfect time for you ladies to let us know where people can find you, the viewers can find you on social media, wherever it is that you at, you know, information, phone numbers, whatever, websites, so that they can look you up and take advantage of some of the services that you provide. So I'm sorry, I want to go with Sonia. I'm just looking at her and I'm just then I'm thinking of your name.
Go to prophesy that doctor.
I know, Dr. Sonia Adams.
I received that.
And everything else.
Yes, my husband is actually a doctorate, so I have one by proxy. That's what I say.
See?
But yeah.
And listen, real quick though, what Sheree was saying, she was saying that she usually doesn't do the all, female, but that's the thing, is you're getting something here and you're getting something. All these women are led, and have strong husbands that they respect. And, it's the same, basically it's the same journey, and so that's why we're supposed to do that, feed into each other as women. That's the job that we need to be doing instead of hating on each other. That's where we get to be accountable, so we can pour in and help heal, So go ahead, Doc. Go ahead, Pastor Adams, and let them know where we can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, and in my Instagram bio has all my other links, because I know when you give all these websites, you give out, nobody remembers that. So just go to IG. Hit my link bio. All my websites are there. My Facebook, everything is there, and that's just the best place where I house everything. And I think that's the best place to find me. And so but
that's just Sonia Adams.
Sonia
Adams.
Sonia A.
Adams.
Yeah, because it's another son. There's a lot of Sonia Adams out there, but it's only one Sonia A. Adams. Well, that's registered in my. Don't forget the A. And that stands for my middle name, which is Andriette Sonia A. Adams. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let's go on down to the doctor, Dr. Brown.
Well, I'm gonna do the same thing. Just go to my IG. It's FEM Finances, FEM Finances. I will upload everything everything there. I think my Clubhouse information is there, Twitter, my website, I took it down. So I'm trying to do some reconstruction right now. I actually have a lot of people hit me up for a lot of different services, and I'm quite not ready yet because I did it in the beginning. It was overwhelming because I got a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, the FEM and FEM finances. But so you guys just find me there, and I'll be willing to like drop some information. So if you basically give me like some topics to talk about, sometimes instead of me speaking to each person individual, I kind of just like to just put it on my IG and give it to you for free. It doesn't matter to me.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And Cherie, last but not least, our accountability coach, talk to us. I know. Oh, you know what? Oh, 1 minute. I know that Dr. Brown, you said that you have a conference that's coming up in November. I wanted you to bring that, of course. Okay.
Yes. So just follow me on Instagram. I'm dropping residual income courses, right? So these courses will be focused on how you can make passive money in many different ways. So either buying a house, Airbnb-ing it, doing short-term rentals. I'm teaching people how to have a plan A, B, and C, because with my accountability, with the term accountability, I like to think of, okay, well, if I'm accountable for this property, I need multiple incomes for this property. So if A don't work, I got a B. If B don't work, I got a C. So I'm basically showing people how to make a lot of money in different ways, right? And then on Clubhouse, I'm starting to do a room on Sunday. I moved it from 7 o'clock, but it'll be moved back to 7 o'clock because I was here. This was very important to me. On Sundays, I'll be doing rooms on Clubhouse. You come on stage, you tell me your passion, and I basically tell you how to make money from it, many different ways. So yeah,
I'll be in there.
I'll be in there on the come on. Usually
I'll be there on the
opposite week. Oh God, like I got all this information, girl. Yes. But yeah, so I'm really trying to help people like know that even men, like usually I called myself Fem Finances because I was mostly helping women who wanted to stay home with their kids and like have these passive incomes where they can just still bring money in the house. However, I'm starting to work with men too, because there's always these conversations on Clubhouse and on, everywhere on social media about how the Black community or Black men are not making over it's a large percentage not making over 6 figures. So I'm like, oh no, come on in my room so I can show you how to get there fast in a month, 30 days. Let's get it. Like, there's money to
you can marry up some of these women. Marry them.
We're gonna create some Black millionaires out here. Yes,
that's right. I love it.
Yeah, we can't be waiting 10 years for a ring because you're trying to get it together and scrounge them up. Go on over there to Dr. Sade. Okay, then Cherie, last but not least, our accountability coach, Cherie, talk to us. Where can they find you? And tell us about the services.
I'm Cherie Turner on every platform. I don't do Twitter, so I guess I should say just Facebook and Instagram. So Instagram, I have links there. You can get your session. You can go ahead and book the accountability chat with me, and then we'll talk about the difference of having a partner, having a coach, and if you would, or how you would actually benefit from having one or the other. But that's right there in my Instagram link as well. The website is being revamped since we're rebranding the new podcast, but I can't wait to jump out there and chat with everybody and give everybody an opportunity to say something. I got to have Pastor Adams, Dr. Brown, you too, B. You got to come by and say something on the podcast, right?
For sure.
Love it.
I would love to.
Just to circle, with when I say the men, I always feel like women need that support. We kind of speaking to women and working in domestic violence. It's always so many women, and it's kind of like the minute I bring on a man's voice to come into the room and reaffirm what I just said, it is his voice that she captures. It is his voice that she captures. So I tell people, men, your voice are needed in the room.
You shift the atmosphere. That's what they're supposed to do. They shift this and we shifted in the spirit. So that's why we need to be working together.
Yeah, we need to always, and women, we stand up for our men. We're out there marching for them, Black Lives Matter, we stand up for our men, our kings. And we need the same thing from them because it reaffirms us and kind of gives us that added strength, like after sisterhood. But when that man, that king speaks into you as well, you kind of right. It's like I'm a daddy's girl. I don't know if anybody else is. Your daddy kind of gives you or even my husband, if it's bad and I'm just gonna go and lay in his arms, it's kind of like the energy like electrifies it, brings it back. So when you have that male
Right.
support there, it just makes us fly higher off. That's all, ladies.
Yeah.
That's right. Makes it all better. Well, thank you so much, ladies. It was such a pleasure. I appreciate you so much. I believe that you guys brought so much value, even more value to the show, to the platform. I was reading some of the chat, and they're like, I learned 2 things here. You know, I'm going to use that and just really applying. I appreciate you, brothers, that are here, you know, in the chat and watching and really taking the opportunity to grow, you know, as well. A lot of this, I know it's Ask a Black Woman, but you know, you with Black women, so you know, you want to know what's going on and see who's doing their work. You know, that's where you find them. Same thing with, you know, Ask a Black Man. It's just like, okay, let's see who's healthy and whole. You know, like that's where I need to be. You know, I need to be talking to you. So very important. So everyone, you know, make sure that if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share here on the HBCU Lounge Network, and go on over to Virtual First Dates and like and subscribe there. We have the playback. It'll be here on both YouTube channels. So thank you. And again, it was a great show and I appreciate you. And I can't wait to see you guys next time. We have some conversations about boundaries, mental health, you know, and relationships with Black women's relationships with other Black women coming up. So you don't want to miss that. So, and hit the bell so you don't miss it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you as well. We enjoyed
Thank you so much.
it.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.